We often plan our lives as if our future selves will want exactly what we want today. But the truth is, we change, sometimes in small ways, sometimes in profound ones. What excites you now may bore you in 10 years. What feels essential today may not even matter tomorrow. In this chapter, You Will Change, we'll explore why acknowledging our evolving selves is key to making smarter choices, both with money and with life. The myth of the fixed self. When we make plans, whether financial, personal, or professional, we usually assume that our future self will want the same things our present self does. It feels logical. If you're passionate about your career now, surely you'll still love it in 20 years. If you dream of owning a certain type of house, surely that dream will last forever. If you believe a certain definition of success is right for you today, surely it will still be right tomorrow. But life rarely works that way. Human beings change, constantly, often in ways we don't anticipate. The values that feel permanent today can fade with time. The desires that feel non-negotiable now can evolve, or even reverse completely. And when we fail to account for this truth, we risk locking ourselves into paths that no longer fit the people we eventually become. Think about yourself 10 years ago. What were your goals, your beliefs, your priorities? Chances are some of them feel almost unrecognizable compared to who you are today. The books you read, the people you admired, the things you thought were the most important, many of them have shifted. And if that much can change in a decade, what makes us think the next 10 years will be different? Psychologists call this the end of history illusion. It's the belief that while we've changed a lot in the past, we won't change much in the future. We look back and laugh at our teenage selves, but then assume that who we are today is our final, permanent version. Research shows this is almost never true. People in their 20s expect to remain the same in their 30s, yet their values, friendships, and careers evolve. People in midlife assume stability, yet their priorities shift again. Even late in life, people continue to grow, rethink, and redefine what matters. What does this mean for money? It means we should be cautious about committing too rigidly to a single vision of the future. For example, someone might dedicate decades of their life to climbing a career ladder, believing that the title, the income, and the recognition will bring lasting fulfillment. And sometimes it does. But often, when they reach the top, they realize the reward doesn't feel the way they imagined. Their definition of success has changed, and they sacrificed years chasing something their future self no longer wanted. This is why flexibility is as important as ambition. Instead of asking, "What do I want forever?" it can be more useful to ask, "What do I want for now? And how can I leave space for change?" That shift in mindset creates resilience. It means you're less likely to wake up one day trapped by decisions made for a past version of yourself. Money choices illustrate this clearly. A young professional might dream of a high-powered, high-paying job in a big city. At 25, the prestige and energy of that lifestyle feels exciting. But by 35, priorities may have shifted toward family, stability, or time freedom. If every financial decision was built around maximizing status in the city, adapting to new desires becomes difficult. By contrast, if that person saved generously, avoided excessive debt, and built flexibility into their career, they now have the freedom to pivot without crisis. The myth of the fixed self can also cause regret in retirement planning. People assume they'll want the same lifestyle for decades, but in reality, preferences often evolve. Some retirees who planned for constant travel discovered they'd rather stay close to family. Others who thought they'd be content in leisure find themselves craving purpose and work again. The point isn't that planning is useless. It's that planning must acknowledge change. The takeaway is simple but powerful. Who you are today is not your final version. The future you, the one making decisions in 5, 10, or 20 years, will have different priorities, different desires, and maybe even a different definition of happiness. That doesn't mean you shouldn't plan. It means your plan should leave space to evolve. Flexibility, not rigidity, is the key to aligning money with life. Because the biggest risk isn't that you'll fail to achieve your goals. The biggest risk is that you'll succeed, only to discover that your goals belong to a past version of yourself. Planning for an evolving self, if one thing is certain in life, it's that you will change. The challenge is that most of our financial and personal plans assume the opposite. Budgets, career paths, and long-term investments are often designed around the idea that our preferences, priorities, and energy levels remain fixed. But reality is far messier. Our values, our goals, and even our definition of success evolve over time. Planning without this in mind is like charting a course with a map of yesterday's terrain. It may get you somewhere, but not where you actually want to go. To accommodate an evolving self, flexibility must be baked into your strategy. Consider career planning. Many people select a profession in their early 20s and pursue it relentlessly for decades, believing this is the path that will deliver long-term satisfaction. Yet the interests and skills that once seemed perfect may no longer inspire fulfillment 10 years later. Flexible planning might include ongoing learning, side projects, or alternate income streams that allow you to pivot without jeopardizing financial stability. This creates room for your changing interests to thrive rather than become a source of frustration. Financial planning illustrates this principle clearly. A rigid plan might commit all your savings to a single investment strategy because it's the right move for the long term. But if your personal circumstances shift, perhaps a desire to start a business, care for family, or pursue a new lifestyle, rigid strategies become obstacles. In contrast, a flexible approach includes emergency funds, diversified investments, and liquid assets. This gives your future self the freedom to respond to changing desires while still growing wealth and security. Flexibility here is not indecision, it's resilience. Psychologically, planning for change reduces regret. We often experience regret not for mistakes made, but for paths chosen for a self we no longer identify with. Someone who pursued a career solely for prestige may find their satisfaction tied more to impact, creativity, or time freedom in later years. If there is no margin to adjust, the realization can be jarring. By anticipating change and designing plans that allow for evolution, regret is minimized, and your choices remain aligned with the self you will become. Flexibility also means being willing to reassess priorities regularly. Annual reviews of finances, goals, and lifestyle preferences aren't just recommended, they are essential. Checking in with yourself ensures that what you're working toward today still resonates with your evolving values. This might mean altering investments, changing career trajectories, adjusting lifestyle choices, or even redefining what success looks like. The ability to adapt continuously is one of the most powerful tools for long-term fulfillment. Real-life examples reinforce this lesson. Entrepreneurs often pivot multiple times before finding the business model or market that aligns with their evolving vision. Investors reallocate portfolios as life stages change, from aggressive growth in youth to more conservative strategies later. Even relationships evolve. Priorities in friendships and partnerships shift as we grow. In every aspect of life, the capacity to recognize change and adjust strategies accordingly defines who thrives over the long term. Importantly, embracing change does not mean abandoning responsibility. Flexibility must coexist with discipline. You still save, invest, and plan, but in ways that accommodate shifts in your desires and circumstances. For instance, you might maintain long-term investments, but leave a portion of your portfolio accessible for opportunities aligned with your future self. You might commit to a career path, but develop skills on the side that allow a transition if your interests evolve. Discipline ensures growth. Flexibility ensures relevance. Finally, acknowledging change fosters courage. If you accept that your future self will be different, you are less likely to fear mistakes and missed opportunities. You understand that life is a series of adjustments and that evolving does not equal failure. This perspective encourages experimentation, calculated risk-taking, and personal growth, all while maintaining a solid foundation for financial and emotional stability. The takeaway is clear. Success is not about locking yourself into a fixed path. It's about building strategies that anticipate your own evolution. By blending flexibility with discipline, you create a life that adapts with you, Your goals, your wealth, and your happiness remain aligned not with who you were, but with who you are and who you will become. Embracing flexibility in life and money. Acknowledging that you will change is one thing. Acting on it is another. Many people intellectually understand that their preferences, goals, and priorities will evolve, but their behaviors rarely reflect that truth. They lock themselves into rigid plans, careers, financial commitments, lifestyles, believing that discipline requires inflexibility. In reality, true discipline is knowing when to hold steady and when to adapt. Flexibility is not weakness, it is foresight, and it is essential for both personal growth and financial stability. Let's begin with money. A young professional might choose a high-paying job in a major city, thinking that income will fuel both lifestyle and long-term goals. But a decade later, priorities often shift. Perhaps family, health, or lifestyle balance become more important than status or income. Without flexibility, financial commitments, mortgages, car loans, long-term leases become shackles. With flexibility, through saving, diversifying income streams, and avoiding over-leverage, these same choices become adjustable levers, giving your future self the freedom to pursue new priorities without panic or compromise. Flexibility also means avoiding all-or-nothing thinking. Life rarely fits perfectly into the boxes we draw. People who commit too rigidly to plans risk being blindsided by change. For instance, an investor who places all their capital in one asset because it makes sense may experience stress, loss, or missed opportunity if circumstances shift. Someone who diversifies and maintains liquidity can pivot with confidence. Flexibility creates optionality, the ability to respond proactively rather than reactively. The principle applies to personal goals as well. Consider relationships, career trajectories, and even daily routines. As we grow, what motivates us changes. Hobbies that once consumed hours may feel empty. Career ambitions that once defined identity may feel shallow. Goals tied solely to external validation may lose relevance. By embracing flexibility, you can realign your time, energy, and resources with your evolving values. You are no longer a prisoner of your past decisions. You are empowered to adapt. A powerful illustration comes from entrepreneurial history. Many successful startups did not achieve their original vision. They pivoted multiple times in response to market feedback, changing leadership, or evolving consumer preferences. Each pivot was a response to change, both in the environment and in the entrepreneurs themselves. Had they been rigidly attached to their initial plan, many of these ventures would have failed. Flexibility, in essence, was the hidden driver of their long-term success. Flexibility is also psychological. Accepting change in yourself reduces fear and regret. When you understand that your desires and values will evolve, you stop punishing yourself for mistakes or missed opportunities. You stop clinging to outdated goals out of fear of admitting change. Instead, you develop the courage to experiment, adjust, and grow, all while maintaining stability. This mindset is a form of resilience, allowing you to navigate life's uncertainties without losing direction or confidence. Financially, flexibility can be built systematically. Emergency funds, diversified investments, liquid assets, and optional income streams provide leeway. Career flexibility comes from continuous skill building, networking, and openness to new paths. Lifestyle flexibility comes from avoiding excessive debt, overcommitment, or rigid routines. Each element creates a buffer that protects your future self and empowers them to make choices aligned with evolving priorities. The lesson is clear. Life is not static, and neither should be your approach to it. Embracing flexibility means planning with the understanding that you will change. It means leaving room to grow, experiment, and adjust without jeopardizing stability. Flexibility is a strategic tool. It enables you to balance discipline with adaptability, security with opportunity, and current needs with future growth. Ultimately, the person who thrives is not the one who sticks perfectly to a plan conceived years ago. It's the one who anticipates evolution, builds systems that accommodate change, and moves forward with intention, even as priorities shift. Flexibility ensures that your wealth, your goals, and your life remain aligned with the self you are becoming, not just the self you were. Designing life for the self you will become. If we accept that we will change, the question becomes, how do we design our lives to accommodate that change? The answer is to build systems, habits, and structures that are flexible, resilient, and adaptable, so that your future self can thrive even if your goals, preferences, or circumstances evolve. The first step is recognizing that rigidity is the enemy of long-term fulfillment. Many people plan every aspect of their lives around who they are today, leaving no room for growth, discovery, or change. They assume that the priorities, tastes, and ambitions they hold now will remain constant decades into the future. The problem is, life is dynamic. The self you know today is only a snapshot, and the person you will become may have entirely different goals, values, and needs. Building for this evolution is not indulgent, it is essential. Financial systems are a prime example. Traditional financial advice often emphasizes strict long-term commitments, pay off debt aggressively, invest in fixed assets, and stick to a rigid retirement plan. While these are valuable, they can become restrictive if your circumstances or goals change. Instead, consider creating a financial framework that balances stability with optionality. Maintain emergency funds, invest diversely, and preserve liquidity. Avoid over-leveraging and keep career and investment options open. This way, your future self has the flexibility to pivot when life shifts, without jeopardizing security. Flexibility also applies to career and personal growth. Commit to continuous learning and skill development, even outside your immediate role or industry. Build networks, explore side projects, and stay curious. These actions don't just add value today, they provide options for the future. A new skill or connection can enable a career change, entrepreneurship, or a lifestyle shift aligned with evolving priorities. The more prepared you are for change, the more opportunities become available when your ambitions or circumstances transform. Time management is another area where designing for change is crucial. Many people overcommit, assuming their schedules and energy levels will remain constant. By leaving space in your calendar for reflection, experimentation, and adaptation, you give your future self the freedom to explore new interests and adjust priorities. Flexibility in how you allocate time fosters creativity, reduces burnout, and ensures alignment with evolving values. Psychologically, accepting that you will change encourages experimentation. You can take calculated risks, try new paths, or explore unfamiliar areas without fear of permanent failure. When your mindset allows for evolution, mistakes become learning opportunities rather than sources of regret. You develop resilience not by avoiding change, but by anticipating it and designing systems to accommodate it. Even relationships benefit from this principle. Friendships, partnerships, and mentorships evolve over time. By building relationships on understanding, communication, and adaptability rather than fixed expectations, you allow both yourself and others to grow. Relationships designed with flexibility can survive shifts in priorities, goals, and circumstances, creating deeper, more enduring connections. The key takeaway is that life designed for the present self alone is fragile. It can crumble when ambitions shift, values evolve, or circumstances change. Life designed for the self you will become is resilient. It accounts for uncertainty, embraces adaptability, and builds options into every system: financial, professional, personal, and emotional. In practical terms, this means creating buffers, keeping options open, diversifying investments, continuously learning, maintaining health, and leaving margin in your time, money, and energy. It means acknowledging that you will make mistakes, your priorities will shift, and life will rarely go exactly as planned. By designing for change, you are not compromising ambition, you are maximizing potential. Ultimately, the future self is your most important client. Every decision you make today should consider not just who you are now, but who you will become. By accepting change and building flexibility into every aspect of life, you create a trajectory that evolves with you, allowing wealth, purpose, and happiness to grow in alignment with the self you are destined to become. This is the art of planning not for perfection, but for enduring growth. Change is inevitable, and the person you are today will not be the person you become tomorrow. Building flexibility into your life ensures that your goals, wealth, and happiness evolve alongside you. But growth and adaptation come at a cost. Time, effort, and choices must be invested wisely. In the next chapter, Nothing Free, we'll explore why every advantage has a price and how understanding the true cost of what we pursue is essential to lasting success.